Brilliant. Okay, a last push for the day. I hope I get you guys motivated. I think a question we have been asking in the last 2 days is what if we could prevent atrocities? More specifically, what we are asking is what if we could detect spikes in anger, in fear, or in misinformation before it turns into violence? Because last year, in August 2025, in Asweda, in the south of Syria, we saw mass atrocities against Druze communities in and around this region. Quick show of hands, who has heard of these attacks? Who's familiar with this content? Oh, a ton of people, brilliant. So you might have also heard that while this was happening, we saw killings, we saw abductions, something more was happening online. Narratives of dehumanization and sectarian stigmatization were spreading across social networks, with up to 20% of the posts related to Druze communities containing clear hate speech and dehumanizing language, also incitement to violence. This is a peak of posts that related to this issue last year before these escalations happened, and these are peaks of posts that I collected just last week. So this is where we become very alert at the what if. We are a peace-building organization working at the intersection of tech and AI, media, and spaces for peace. We work very, very closely with local experts, teams, and partners so that we can co-create solutions. Currently, in Syria, we are piloting our early warning and atrocity prevention work. This happens in a framework approach. We have 4 main steps. We have detection, validation, risk assessment, and continued response. So detection looks like automated monitoring of these spaces. And again, very importantly, we are working with locals. This means that we can play in local slang, local dialect, coded language, and identify patterns that are highly specific to the individual context. So what I did here as an example is into our interface put the parameters of searching platforms such as X, Instagram, TikTok, with a broad match for the Arabic writing of the term Druze, between May 28 and June 12, so just the last 2 weeks, looking at about 3,000 posts per day. What I found was quite eye-opening because we're currently seeing very similar narrative patterns to what we were seeing last year pre-escalation. Specifically, the top flagged posts or topics are around sectarianism, so a form of prejudice or hatred towards certain sects because of their affiliation with such sect, Druze identity, and the Syrian conflict overall. If we overlay that with an analysis of the emotion over time, we're also seeing very similar emotional patterns. Concretely, the top 3 emotions that are associated with Druze communities, these posts right now, are anger, disgust, and sadness. And I found about 45% of the posts analyzed had a general negative sentiment. My question to you, just to see how you would react if you were an analyst and you saw these dashboards, quick show of hand of which of these factors would you want to prioritize to investigate first? Quick show of hand, the emotional spikes in anger, fear, disgust, sadness? Not many. B, identity-based narratives. Oh, I'm seeing a bunch of hands. Or C, the sheer volume of negative sentiment. All right, I'm also seeing a lot of you. Well, what we have found is that there is a correlation between B, these identity-based narratives, and what we're then seeing leading to offline violence. And that is where the validation point comes in, because if we look at these narratives, we're seeing a lot of what is being posted is not actually true. We work here with online influential actors. They might be social media group admins or key contributors that already have a following. They have influence. And we train them with our tool and how to conduct context and conflict-sensitive social media monitoring, so that they can do a highly localized analysis for their individual groups and contexts. What this might look like is that our system flags something like this. This is a very strong post equating certain sects with cancerous growths and using pseudo-medical language to call for their removal. This is not only misinformation, this is direct hate speech. Our trained users can identify it as such and thereby refine the analysis. And this is by no means an isolated case. What I found was that on one of the days that I looked at this data, about 45% of the posts, 12% of the posts contained some form of misinformation. This is a key escalation signal to us because the threshold to violence is becoming lower and lower. And that's where we come into our risk assessment. Again, closely collaborating with local experts and actors, we can then cross-check this data with highly localized risk indicators. And that informs our action. We then still need to decide at which level we will become active, because if we look at this map, we can see that these narratives are not only pertaining to the area in and around Asweda, which you see down here, but actually the entirety of Syria, and even beyond that, the entirety of the Middle East. And we're all aware that narratives do cross borders, both governorate and country borders. So this will inform our continued response. We need a response that is not just locally grounded, but also has potential for wider reach. We at the What If do several things. We interact with researchers. We are originally derived from a research project, so we play our data back to researchers. We work with policymakers, but especially one thing that I'd like to highlight is that we work with locals to elevate their voices. This is an example of such a response. I'll just play this for you briefly. Not sure if we have sound for it.
بس ما بحضر حفلة كل يوم.
أنا من حماة وما بقول يا سماء.
أنا من تلكلخ بس ما بشتغل بالتهريب.
أنا من الباب بس ماني 11.
أنا أرمني بس ما بكسر بالعربي.
Brilliant, thank you. Even if we only heard half, I think the gist is clear. This was a post that was created by a group of our trained actors that had been trained on using our tool, on identifying the harmful narratives within their own groups, their own communities, their own contexts. And this was their counter-response. A post that within 24 hours gained 5.4 million views and incredibly positive resonance, with people saying that finally we're speaking with each other and not against each other. So this is just one of the examples of how we can flood these spaces that are used for harmful narratives with more positive narratives. I thank you for your attention. I look forward to collaborating together and finding synergies so that we can continue this work. Thank you.